Shadow Minister Toby Perkins.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last week's spring statement showed that this government have a Chancellor ill-equipped to tackle the size of the cost of living challenge in front of him. This week, the Skills Bill shows that when it comes to addressing the key skills challenges our growth-starved nation faces, we have a government ill-equipped for that challenge too. We should remember that in last week's Chancellor's statement, he referred to reviewing apprenticeship levy and other taxes, and by Friday was forced to deny, in fact, that there was going to be any formal review of the apprenticeship levy or system at all. What a mess. This is a government who spend the back end of the week denying what they said in the first part of it. No wonder the sector is utterly disillusioned with their approach. Let's just stop for a minute and think how it could have been. A skills bill worthy of the name would have seized the challenge posed by the huge reduction in apprenticeships since the introduction of the levy and demanded a review that ensured that small businesses were better served and that more Level 2 and Level 3 apprenticeship opportunities were created, and sought to return to at least the numbers we had before the levy was introduced. A transformative skills bill would have ensured that all the relevant bodies were around the table directing local skills funding. It would also have recognised that if universal credit is really going to be a bridge from the dole to a rewarding career, then people on universal credit must be able to afford to invest in themselves in the way that the excellent Lord's amendment suggested. Now, one can only imagine what their noble lordship made of the Commons Committee stage. A range of peers from across the political spectrum have brought their considerable knowledge and experience to bear to strengthen this act of educational vandalism, as Lord Baker described it, and voted through a series of amendments that a wide variety of knowledgeable judges, including groups like the Association of Colleges, had described as strengthening the bill. Yet one by one, the government rejected those amendments. It all means that the huge opportunity presented by the first skills bill in this government's 12-year period in office will fail to grasp this opportunity to put England's approach to skills on a comparable footing with the best systems around the world. Now, when the noble lordships reluctantly agreed to place just two further amendments in front of us today, on Amendment 15B, when this bill was first debated 9 months ago, we had the Secretary of State and Skills Minister of that time in dismissive mood, decrying BTECs for all they were worth. Since then, we've had the more ameliorative approach, which we welcome, of the current Secretary of State, firstly offering an extension to funding for BTECs into the next Parliament, and then saying that the government will conduct a qualifications review and come back and tell us which Level 3 qualifications they consider not to be of sufficient quality or which ones they consider duplicate T-levels. All the while, and the Minister's speech a moment ago reinforces that suspicion, the government believe that it's only by discrediting or defunding BTECs that T-levels will flourish. Now, I'm confused as to why they so lack confidence in this new qualification. As my great friend Lord Blunkett said when moving Amendment 15B last week, on this side of the House, we have no hostility for T-levels. Indeed, we believe they're of real value. Just 2 weeks ago, I was at Barnsley College, a fine institution where I met several good T-level students studying construction, digital production and health and care. And they were hugely impressive, as were the lecturers and the leadership team that I met. They had a real vision for where they might go following this qualification. I've got no problem with saying that. I've got no problem with saying I've seen good quality T-level provision. And nor should the government refuse to recognise that BTECs and cash diplomas and other Level 3 qualifications have also been transformational for so many students and proceed cautiously before abolishing. If the qualification in its current form or in any future form is a strong one, it will prosper, without the need to try and kill other Level 3 qualifications and leave tens of thousands of students without a qualification to study. BTECs are widely respected by employers, learners, universities, colleges, training providers and other key stakeholders. As I referred to a minute ago, the Minister refused to actually address the question. The DfE's own figures showed that 86% of respondents to their consultation urged them to continue the twin track of T-levels and BTECs. And the Minister referred a moment ago to Labour opposing T-levels, not opposing T-levels at all. In fact, it was a Conservative-dominated House of Lords, including the support of Conservative peers, that voted to place this amendment back in front of us last week. The government has optimistically suggested that 100,000 students might be doing T-levels by 2024. Given that 230,000 students currently study Level 3 qualifications, the government need to come clean when their review is published as to what their plan is for those who don't move on to do T-levels. It really isn't good enough to continue dodging these questions. Institutions need to know, learners need to know, and employers need to know. Does government expect that more of them will complete Level 2 and then go into the world of work at the age of 17? Does it expect that anything like the missing 130,000 would stay on alternative Level 3 courses? If not, what is the plan? The government need to come clean. Now, turning to Amendments 17B and 17C, whilst on this side of the House we would have preferred that the Baker Clause was adopted in its entirety, we are prepared to accept this compromise as a way to move the issue forward. I still fail to see, it was interesting to hear the Minister talking about the compromise, what it was about having more than one intervention in a single school year that the government thought was so radical an idea. Why is it that 2 in every 2 years is considered the very most that we can expect of our schools? Notwithstanding that, given that at least 50% of pupils do not progress onto an academic route, children and young people should have as much support as possible to learn about the wide range of opportunities open to them. And I welcome that these two interactions must be separate and different to each other. I would like to impress upon the Minister that these interactions must be of high quality and must be impartial. I also think government need to acknowledge that the perspective on the current operation of the Baker Clause differs considerably depending on whether you're a student or a provider. All too often, apprentices I've met have told me they weren't made aware of apprenticeships while at school. Just a few weeks ago, I was at the Remit Automotive Apprenticeship Academy. Just 5 of the 25 students who I met said that apprenticeships had been discussed at school and that they'd received proper careers guidance. I suspect that if we spoke to their school, we would have heard a different tale. So ensuring that these interactions are done in a meaningful way, which really opens school children's horizons, is so important. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, whilst it remains a regret that more of the excellent Lord's amendments were rejected by this House, it is our intention to support the Lordship's 2 remaining amendments in front of us tonight. And beyond that, we give notice that as this government has clearly run out of the ideas required to address the skills shortage they've created, a future Labour government will tackle the systemic failure which has seen this country fail too many students and leave England's employers consistently complaining that under this government too few people leave our schools ready to work. It will take a Labour government to drive the partnership and collaboration required to bring government, employers, metro mayors, local authorities and others together, reform what isn't working and develop a skills ecosystem fit for purpose that delivers work-ready students our employers demand and our economy and our country so desperately needs.